Everyone who talks about relationships will tell you that it's all about communication. Well, that should be simple, right? All you need to do is communicate effectively and be understood and to listen carefully and to understand the other person. But it is so much more nuanced than that. One of the things that has helped me maintain long-term relationships is this one painful realization. It doesn't matter what I said. It matters what they heard. Now, they may not seem fair. In fact, I can tell you that some of my personal defense mechanisms when I've had a fight with my wife, Kim, or my daughter, Mariah, or my son, Aaron, or someone close to me, is that I feel like I've been misunderstood. In fact, I think that's a default mode for a lot of us. When things go bad, you don't understand what I'm saying, or you misunderstood me, or you didn't understand my intention or motivation. And half the time when I end up in a fight with Kim, it's because I feel that she has misunderstood me, and she'll echo back not what I said, she'll echo back what she heard. And so then I think that my job is to correct what she heard so that she will hear what I said. And what I don't realize is that that's never going to get me anywhere. What I need to do is be less focused on what I said and more focused on what she heard. It may just be that what she heard is what you meant, but you didn't say it. And then the moment they acknowledge that you actually did get your point across, you did not like the consequence of what you communicated. Or it may be that you didn't have any other intention except what you actually said, what you actually meant, and yet somehow they heard something else. What that tells you is that there's history there. There are other factors involved. There's emotional content that you may not be considering or weighing. And one of the things I've learned in my life is I don't want to win the fight. I want to win the person. And so when that happens, what I do is I stop focusing on what I said, and I focus on what they heard. And I take responsibility for what they heard. And you may think to yourself, wait a minute, that's not right. I should not take responsibility. I should not be responsible for what someone heard if they misheard me or misunderstood me, except for this. They're not going to relate to you based on what you said. They're going to relate to you based on what they heard. They're not going to forgive you for what you said. They'll have to forgive you for what they heard. Years ago, I woke up one morning, and Kim always wakes up earlier than me, so I'm pretty much never the first one awake. And I woke up, and Kim was mad at me. I hadn't even done anything. I hadn't said anything. I don't even know if I breathed out loud yet. And she was already mad at me. And I could tell something was wrong. And I just found the courage to say, honey, what's going on? Did I do something? What did I do? And she said, I had a dream last night. And in my dream, you did ... She went on and described everything I did in the dream that was wrong. And I said, oh, that's a terrible dream, honey. But you know it was a dream, right? She said, I know it was a dream, but you did it. I said, no, honey. In your dream, there's only one person actually there. It's you. You are every character in your dream. It wasn't me that did it. It was you that did it to you, but with my face. It didn't help. You did this in the dream, and I was responsible all day for what she felt I did to her in the dream. All the rational, reasonable, logical input that I could bring into that conversation was not going to get me anywhere. I don't know how we resolved it. I think I might have apologized for what I did in the dream. But the whole point is that relationships are actually not built solely on what you do or what you say or what you intend or what you meant. So much of the dynamic of relationships is what they experience, what they hear, what they feel, what they interpret. And what I've discovered in my own life is that if I take the time to express love, to express acceptance, if I take the time to listen, to care, to pay attention, I'm creating the context for when, even in those moments where I say the right thing the wrong way, or maybe the wrong thing the right way, that I've built so much relational rapport that she understands that's not what I meant. Here's what I've discovered in my life. Once a person knows that you love them and accept them for who they are, they impugn motive that is good. When a person is not sure if you're for them, they're not sure if you really accept them, they're not sure how you really feel about them, they impugn negative motivation. What a person hears is one of the best ways to know how they perceive how you feel about them. And when you realize, oh, it's not that they misheard me, they're revealing to me their fears about our relationship. They're revealing to me their fears about my motivation. They're revealing to me their fear about how I think about them. And if I can focus on that, then the key to a healthy relationship is communication. It's not simply what you say and not simply what you hear them say. It's learning how to listen to the deep narrative in the other person's soul, to be able to understand what's shaping and informing the full weight of their response to you. It's an incredible thing when someone knows you love them so much and are so committed to them that even when you're short-tempered or impatient or in a hurry and you're short or blunt or curt or maybe even just a bit rude, that you've developed so much relational capital that they reinterpret your worst moments, your worst points of communication and go, but I know he's for me. And that is the key to a healthy relationship, where the communication is about the depth of the relationship and the words, they become secondary. So there are two ways of approaching how you apply this. One is, well, when you're already in the heat of the conversation. When you're already there, the way to approach this is stop fighting for what you meant and start listening to what they heard. And accept responsibility as much as you can for what they heard. And begin to realize they're trying to tell you something that's coming from their insecurity, their fear, their hurt. Don't argue about what you meant. Accept responsibility for what they heard, and then move toward what you really want them to understand. It's so much more important at that moment to communicate your love and acceptance of that person rather than who's right and who's wrong about that particular conversation. But the better strategy is don't get there. The better strategy is to realize that communication never starts with the first word in a sentence. Communication always starts with the health of the relationship. So if you're going to have a hard conversation with someone you love, you know what you need to make sure you do? You build so much rapport in that relationship that when it's time to have that hard conversation, they've already been so loved, so accepted, so taken care of. And that way that person is secure and you can have the hardest conversations together. Some of the small things that I try to do is to recognize that everyone in my life will have to have a hard conversation with me, and probably everyone in my life will need a hard conversation from me. So I want to make sure that our lives are just absolutely showered with positive affirmation, positive encouragement, positive conversations where they look forward to the conversations together. One of the great signals you can get is when people are afraid to have a conversation with you. When you text someone, they get anxious because they see that you want to talk. When you show up, people get nervous because, oh no, what's he going to say? That's the way you can know that the only time you ever have a conversation is when there's going to be confrontation. What you want to do is be the person that people want to receive a text from. They want you to walk into the room. They want you to ask for a meeting, because 9 out of 10 times, that meeting is so enriching, so encouraging, so affirming that you'll block time to have that kind of conversation. And then that rare occasion where there is criticism or critique or confrontation, you accept it because you know this person is for you. When people know who you are in relationship to them, they stop questioning your motives in a negative way. When people know who you are and how you relate to them, even in your worst moments, they will give you the benefit of the doubt. The power of every relationship is the clarity and strength of communication. And communication is a relational dynamic, not simply a verbal one. This subtle shift is what I would call a mind shift. And what I find in life is that most of us are just an increment away from unlocking our practical genius, which, by the way, is the entire context of my next book. It's called Mind Shift. It doesn't take a genius to think like one. And in that book, I unwrap 12 specific mental structures that will shift you from living a life that may be filled with regret to living the life that you're created to live. So if you're ready for a mind shift, let me encourage you to go right now to either Amazon.com or BarnesandNoble.com and pick up Mind Shift. It doesn't take a genius to become one. Releases September 19th. And I want to encourage you to begin to make the mental shifts to live the life that you were created to live.